James with Love My Pups, My Breeder Supply. Done a lot of videos over the years on DNA on dogs, how all these letters work, what the colors are, what they mean. But I don't think I've done a video that is how do you figure out what your puppy is if you don't have a DNA test on that puppy. And I run into this a lot where people want to breed to one of my dogs, or maybe somebody else's dog, and they're trying to figure out what's the best stud dog to use, and they don't have DNA information on their dog. So there are some things that you can do to figure out what the likely DNA of that dog is. So let's talk a little bit about how that might work. So here's the information that you want to gather. So of course, the first thing is you want to have a guess as to what this dog is. Guess the DNA. So there's some things here that are going to help you on that quest. So the first one would be, if you've got a dog, well, before we go to that, let's just talk about what these things would be. Number two would be info on the parents. What colors are the parents that we know about? So info on the parents, their DNA, or how we can infer it. And if we don't have that, then we can go look at the pedigree and get some info on grandparents, info on pedigree. So that's going to be other dogs that are standing behind this dog. And then this is very useful. What other puppies were in this litter? Were in litter. So what can we gather about other puppies that were born along with the dog we're trying to guess? So that's the kind of sleuthing that we're going to do, if you'd call it that, to try to figure out what the heck's going on. Right, let's get rid of this. And let's talk specifically about what we might see in a dog and how that might let us to believe what that dog's DNA is. All right, so the first one is this a fawn dog? Because if it is, it doesn't have brindle. That's some useful information. It doesn't have brindle. And that means that that dog is KN. We know that immediately. Now, a fawn dog could have had brindle parents. It could have had two brindle parents. And brindle is a dominant gene. This KBR gene just takes one copy, a KBR-KY gene. This, by the way, this is your fawn dog, KY. That's a fawn dog. A KBR-KY dog is a brindle, every time. And a KBR-KBR is definitely a brindle, all right. So the fact is that you could have had a fawn dog that doesn't carry brindle, that in fact came from two parents who do have brindle. Well, how the heck is that possible? So of course, the way that we look at this is we go back to the good old Punnett square. And we'll do a Punnett square on brindle. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Punnett square, go look back at some of my other videos and it will talk in some detail about Punnett squares. But on a Punnett square, you put one dog, one parent on one side, one parent on the other side. Remember, each dog has two possible genes it can give out for every single trait. So for instance, a dog that is going to be a blue dog would be little d. And that dog can then, and a dog that's a blue carrier would be big D, little d. So if this dog has babies, it always has to give out a D gene. There's no choice here. It's got to give out one or the other. They're both D, it always gives out D. This dog here can give out either the not blue or the blue gene, and it's just a 50-50 chance. So remember, there are no, on all this stuff, it's kind of statistical in nature. So here we go. Here's the brindle dog. So we've got a dog that is KBR, KY. That is apparently a brindle dog. Bred to another dog that is KBR, KY. What would you expect to see? Well, you'd expect to see a quarter of the dogs are KBR, KBR. That is a very strong brindle. Some of the dogs, a quarter in this case, are going to be KBR, KY. And by the way, you get the same thing down here. You've got KBRs, KY. And then this slot right here, you get KYs, KYs. So there's the KY, KY. That is the not brindle dog, which is going to be 25% on average of the litter. half the litter is going to be brindle, one copy. They'll still look brindle, one copy. And 20, that's 50%. And 25% will be 2 copies. 2 copies of brindle. So, no, of course, all that adds up to 100%. So there we go. All right, so you can see how you can have 2 parents that are both brindles that produced a non-brindle dog or fawn dog. Okay, good to know. Good to know. So the first thing is, back to where we were. If you've got a fawn dog, we know that that dog does not have brindle. Good. There's the first little piece of information. Let's talk about pied. The pied gene it's a recessive gene, and it takes 2 copies for it to produce a pied dog. A pied dog is a dog that has a white background, snow white background, with a colour on top of it. It could be brindle, it could be blue, it could be chocolate, it could be lilac, it could be Mural. It's a pied dog. And a pied dog will be, the way I write a pied dog is SS. There's all different ways people write this stuff, but I put SS. A non-pied dog is NN, in that it's called a spotted gene, is NN, and a pied carrier would be SN. This dog here will be pied. This dog will not be pied. And this dog is likely to have a white chest. Not always, but it's likely to have a white chest. So if you see a dog that is a solid coat colour, doesn't have a white chest, you can bet you probably that dog is NN in the pied gene. It's not a pied dog, right? It's not a pied dog. Sorry. Put that in the wrong place. That's right there. That's the NN. That's not the pied dog. Versus the white chest probably has a copy of pied. All right. So you can also look back at the offspring that was in that litter. If there's a litter mate that was pied, then you know at the very least both parents had to at least have been SN. They had to have been that. Do the Punnett square again. And you get, there's a pied dog, there's a not pied dog, there's a pied carrier, there's a pied carrier. 25% of the puppies with both parents carrying a copy of pied are going to be pied. So if you've got a litter of 8 dogs and 2 are pied, that's what's probably going on. That's a good guess. Again, I don't want to get them to act like this is guaranteed, because it's not. It's all statistical nature. But the point here is you're trying to find out whether or not the dog you've got, you're asking the questions about, whether or not it carries pied or not. If it's pied, look, we know exactly what it is. We can fill in that blank. But it's got a white chest, and there was a pied puppy in the litter. Or then you can bet yourself that it probably carries a copy of pied. If one of the parents was a pied dog, it has to have a copy of pied. And the reason for that is, back to the Punnett square. Here we go. And we've got one parent who we know is pied, because it's a pied dog. And the other parent doesn't have pied at all. Well, every single dog, every single puppy that's produced is a pied carrier. So, back to the pied gene. If you've got a white chest, and or you had a pied puppy in the litter, you can suspect that that dog probably carries pied. If it had a pied parent, you know it has to carry pied. So there we go on the pied. That's the pied gene. How are we doing on time? We're 10 minutes in. We may break this up into 2 videos. It may go a bit long. Okay. So we know, now we can fill in the pied gene. So we're just going to say that this dog is visibly not pied, but it has a white chest. So we'll put SN there. That's for the pied. Okay. Now let's talk about blue. So a dog that is blue will be little d, little d. And those dogs will look different than dogs that are fawns. There will be no doubt that it's not a fawn dog. Well, you can have a blue fawn. So actually, I've been debating that up a little bit. Now, you can have a blue fawn that can look pretty fawnish. Typically, a blue fawn dog will be a light version of fawn with a kind of a smoky haze to it, especially on its back. And so that is likely to be a blue fawn. And a blue fawn, by the way, would be an AYAY So that's where the thorn comes from, and blue. That'll be a blue thorn. So if you've got a dog that's if you've got a dog that looks blue, it's likely that that dog is a little d dog. If you've got a dog that is not blue, then what are the other puppies in the litter? If there was a blue puppy in the litter, then you know that both parents, at the very least, had to have been blue carriers. Because there's the Punnett square. There's the blue dog right there. Two dogs that are blue carriers, they will produce 25% of the litter will be blue. If you end up with a blue puppy in the litter, this litter mate to this dog, then you know that there's a darn good chance, or you know that both parents had to have carried a copy of blue. And since both parents had a 50% chance of carrying blue, it means your dog has a 75%, if you do the math, has a 75% chance that the dog is in fact a blue carrier. So with that information, we should have a good stab as to whether or not this dog carries blue. If the dog looks blue, we know what it is. If the dog carries blue, if either parent is blue, it has to be a blue carrier. If there's a blue puppy in the litter, there's a very good chance that the dog carries blue. All right, so that's the blue. That's the blue one. So that's blue, and we're going to say that our dog ended up being, we didn't know that it was blue, but it has a blue offspring. All right. Exactly the same thing runs true for cocoa and what we call testable chocolate. And the cocoa would be, a true cocoa dog would be little co, and a true testable chocolate dog would be little b. Same thing again. If there was a puppy in the litter that was a chocolate dog, there's a very, very good chance that your dog carries a copy of chocolate. If you're in doubt as to whether or not your dog is a chocolate dog, you can go take that dog when it's at least a couple of months old, it's safe, into a completely dark room, turn on your video on your phone so the light's on, take a video, and you will see this demonic red eye glow, which gets more prevalent as dogs get older. By the time the dogs are a year old, it's absolutely obvious. They'll have a red center to their eye. That is a chocolate dog, whether it be little co or little bb. If it's a chocolate carrier, it will not show up. And if it's a Mural, all bets are off the table, because Mural dogs tend to have red eye glows regardless of whether they're chocolate or not. But the point here is if you had a chocolate parent with a red eye glow, you've got a really good, you know that your dog has to carry one of these versions of chocolate. It's either big co, little co, or big B, little b. And by the way, how can you tell the difference between these two? The only way is a genetics test. You can't look at a dog and tell which version of chocolate it is. Certainly there are some differences in the variation in shades that you tend to see in testable versus cocoa. And if you combine both together, you get what's called a new shade. And they tend to be a very milky chocolate color. It's not reliable. The only way, by the way, on all of this stuff to know that you're getting it right before you do a breeding is to have a DNA test done on a dog. But lots of times there's no time to get that done, and you're going to go for a breeding, and you just got to make guesses. All right. So we just talked about blue, cocoa, and testable. Now let's talk about the A locus. The A locus. Well, let's talk about cream. So cream. A true cream dog will be little e. And cream is like white paint. It covers absolutely everything up. It can be very confusing when you're looking at a dog that is cream because you don't know all the other hidden colors. It's like that piece of paper right there. There may be lots of other colors that are present, but they are just like white paint, completely covered up by the cream. So a cream dog, if you've got a cream dog in the litter, you don't know whether that was in fact a champagne or a platinum, or a cream dog. All you can say is if it's a cream dog, it was little e. So if you've got a cream dog in the litter, back to the Punnett square, it's the same thing as all these other, what we call recessive genes, that if you've got a dog that carries cream, bred to another dog that carries cream, you're back to this same situation where half the litter carry cream, a quarter of the litter don't have anything to do with cream at all, and 1/4 of the litter are cream dogs. So if you had a cream litter mate, you know that there's an exceedingly good chance that this dog does in fact carry cream. Okay. So we just going to say that this dog had either, if it had a cream parent, by the way, you know it has to have a copy of cream. All right, so we're going to say this dog has a copy of cream. All right, we'll get on to the tan points here in a moment. Let's talk about Mural, the Mural gene. So a dog that is Mural will be little m, big M, or a little other way around, big M, little m. You should never see a dog that has 2 copies of Mural, because if it does, it's likely to have all kinds of problems, deafness, blindness. You don't, for that reason, breed Murals to Murals, because if you bred, let's look at the Punnett square again. If you had a dog that has got 1 copy of Mural, and by the way, Mural is like brindle. It takes a single copy for it to be expressed. There's only a couple of genes like that. The brindle gene and the Mural gene. A single copy expresses the color. So we are responsible breeders. We're breeding a Mural carrier to a Mural. We've got 2 dogs that are Mural carriers, so we're not responsible breeders, and we breed those dogs together. What happens? Well, you get 1/4 of the litter that are double Murals, and those are dogs that like to run into problems. So that's why you don't breed Murals to Murals. You always breed Murals to non-Murals. Which produces 50% Murals and 50% not Murals. Right? So, same thing again. If you've got a parent that is a Mural, well, let's just back this up a second. Mural is much easier because Mural, since it's a dominant gene like brindle, if the dog looks Mural, it's got a copy of Mural, end of story. If it doesn't look Mural, it didn't get a Mural gene, and it's not a Mural. Although it may have had a Mural parent, it is not a Mural, and it will not produce any Murals. Well, it will produce Murals if it's put with another Mural dog. But the point here is you can look at a dog, and you can decide whether or not this dog is Mural just simply by looking at it. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the A locus, and this one's a little bit confusing. Well, by the way, I want to talk about cream just one more time here. The cream locus, there's 4 possibilities that you can get on the cream locus. You can have a dog that is capital EM, that would be a mask. You can be a dog that's little em, that is maskless, that is no mask. It can be capital E, not cream. Or it can be EE cream. So those 2 copies of this ends up with cream. So you've got any one of these, any combination you like of these you can have on the E locus. So a dog that's little e is cream, can't have a mask, it'll always be maskless. Always be maskless. A dog that looks maskless probably, very likely has 1 copy of cream if it doesn't look visibly cream. So you can look back through the litter again and get a little idea about whether or not this dog might be masked or not. All right. We're probably going way long on this video here. Let's see how far we are. Step behind the camera for a second. We're 18 minutes into this. All right, we're going to break this up, and we're now going to pick this up on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye. Watching the video. I really appreciate people who subscribe to me. It helps me, encourage me to do more of these videos. But do remember, disclaimer here, I am not a vet. I'm not a licensed medical professional. I'm purely a person who's been breeding dogs for the last couple of decades. Any information that you got from this video, use at your own risk. There's nothing implied here, and certainly this should not be used as a substitute for advice from your veterinarian or your medical professional. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more of them. Bye.